Hello everyone, a very good evening to all of you and welcome to the free Shiksha IELTS classes. I hope all of you are doing really good, excited for the class. So today we are going to cover up another section of the speaking class. We have already started with the classes of IELTS and we have finished so far reading, listening and writing. So today we'll be starting with another module of the IELTS exam, which is speaking. Okay, the last module of speaking, which we are going to cover in today's class. So let me show you on the slide itself previously what all we have covered. We have covered IELTS reading module, which was on the first week of June. Then in the second week of June, we covered up IELTS listening module. And in the third week of June, we did IELTS writing module. All right. Hello everyone, a very good evening. I can see it on the comments how excited all of you are. Great to be here again. Well, welcome. So yes, coming back to the slide guys. So to be covered, that means what are we going to cover today, in the today's class. And a small reminder, if you have not registered with us so far, so please do that by clicking on the link below, because we are just left with the last week of June and we are going to cover up all the topics of speaking here in this week. And I'll be giving you details of all the three parts of speaking exam, as well as we'll be also having one special vocabulary class. Okay, so in that vocabulary class, I'll be giving you a lot of words and phrases which you can use in your writing and speaking. So yes, just be aware of the link which is in the description below, and you can click on that link and you can get the free access for all the free downloading of sample papers, or either if you want to get connected to our expert counselors, then you can do that by clicking on the link. And if you want to watch previous videos for these previously covered topics, reading, listening and writing, then please do watch our videos on our YouTube channel. And you can subscribe on our YouTube channel, which is with the same name like Shiksha Study Abroad. As well as, let me come back to the slide guys, and let me tell you what am I going to cover in today's class. So IELTS speaking, which is same for both as in academic and general training, both the categories get the same IELTS speaking exam or paper. I'm going to show you the syllabus, what are the three parts. I'm going to show you the format and structure, tips and strategies, marking criteria, that is IELTS speaking, and the example questions. And in the end, I'll be giving you some time to ask me questions in the end of the class on the comment section. So you can ask me any doubt and queries in the end of the class. I'll be giving you some time. So let me quickly start with the today's class. So let's read about IELTS speaking test first. So the test takers have to give the same IELTS speaking test. This implies that the IELTS general speaking and academic speaking formats remain the same. Okay? So there is no difference between the academic and general training speaking. It is same for both. The IELTS speaking test structure is relatively easy to understand and will assess you based on these parameters. So let us look at the parameters on the basis of which you will be assessed or judged. So first is your fluency in English and the ability to talk without the hesitation or pausing during the conversation. So the less you take the breaks, the more fluent you are. So it will analyze how you use your connectors, your pronouns, your conjunctions, and among other devices. So these are just, the basic skills of grammar, the basic grammar skills which you need. And if you have those, then nobody can stop you from getting 6 plus. Okay, that means 6 and above. So the language and accent should be understandable to the examiner. So whatever accent you are talking in, or whatever language you are talking in during the exam, that should be understood by the examiner. For example, English here. So you are being judged on your English language skills. So hence your English language skills should be up to the date, should be up to the mark, so that the examiner can understand you what are you trying to say. All right, coming to the next bullet point, the examiner will assess your vocabulary along with the grammatical correctness and sentence formation. So your grammar and vocabulary should be balanced. The examiner will also evaluate pronunciation and intonation. So pronunciation, you know what are the pronunciation of words, simple or uncommon words. And intonation means the rise and low of your pitch. Okay, the variations which you make in your sound while speaking, that is known as intonation. Now we come to the first part of your speaking test, which is part one. So let us look at the format first. The examiner and the candidate will introduce themselves. So first the examiner will introduce themselves to you, and then they will ask about your introduction. The examiner will ask the candidates general questions about their city or town, their profession, their personal areas of interest, their family, and education. So you can see here that the examiner will focus on you on part one, in the part one of speaking test. So in the beginning, the candidates will have to state their name, present passport or ID, and share the name by which they want to be addressed by the examiner. So all these details should be there in your mind before you go into the speaking exam center. So, next bullet point says this part examines the candidate's ability to share their views and ideas about daily aspects and shared experiences. So, basically, you will be talking about yourself in part one. The examiner will ask you such questions in which you will get opportunity to talk about you. Okay, your family, your background, your personal areas of interest, your likes and dislikes, your favorites. All right, all of those. So this part one goes on for about 4 to 5 minutes. So for the examiner to complete this part one in terms of question and answers, it takes for around 4 to 5 minutes to complete this part. Coming to the tips of part one. So along with the format, I'll be showing you what are the tips which you can apply for that particular part of the speaking test. So for example, tips for past part one speaking test is first one, arrive before the scheduled time. Please do not be late. Be punctual and arrive on time in your speaking test. Smile and relax as you enter the room because smile plays a very important role, and this is taught to you even when you go for your any interview, right? So this has to be applied in your speaking exam as well. So keep your ID handy, the passport should be with you, and avoid being over formal. So don't be very formal, just be semi formal in the speaking exam. You will then be asked 2 to 3 questions, down your home, studies, or work, and always use simple language and make a good impression. You will then be asked 3 to 4 questions on one topic and 3 or 4 questions on another topic. So for these questions, give comparatively short answers. So there will be like many questions asked to you for around 7 to 8 questions might be asked to you in part one. So 4 or 5 of them will be from one topic, and then another 4 or 5 set of questions will be from another topic. So you should give such answers which should not take a longer span of time, because you will get longer span of time to talk about your answers in part 3. So part 1 should be comparatively shorter so that you get time to complete your part 2 and part 3 in appropriate span of time. So somebody is asking me a question, ma'am, before part 1, do we get time to prepare? No, you do not get any time. And I would really appreciate if you can ask me, all the questions related to today's class in the end of the PPT. So just wait patiently, guys, for your chance. I will give you some time in the end to ask me questions, but just let me finish the PPT, because if I'll keep answering the questions, that would break the flow of the PPT. All right, so I hope you understand that. All right, coming back to the slide, guys. Spend roughly 10 to 20 seconds for every answer, and do not worry if you are interrupted. So it might happen that the examiner might interrupt you in between and ask another question. So do not think that, oh my god, why is he interrupting me, or why am I not getting a chance to complete my answer? That is just a way of the examiner to interrupt you and see how well you can handle such situations. All right, coming to the next bullet point, which says most questions will be about your life and your experience. So some questions may require a yes or a no. So, however, expand the answer that you give. Adding detail or two may be a good strategy. So, as I said, keep your answers short in part 1, but they should not be like one word or one phrase. For example, if somebody is asking you, do you like to listen to music, and you say no, or you just say yes, so that will be a wrong answer. All right, you should say yes and then give your idea or opinion, and if you're saying no, then give your reason. So the answers should not be in one word or one phrase. It should be a full length sentence, at least 2 to 3 or 4 to 5 short or middle length sentences for part 1. Alright guys, coming to part 2 now, let's see what is the format of part 2 of speaking. So you will get a cue card. A cue card is, mainly like a task card which has a topic in it. So you will get 1 minute to prepare your answer on the given topic. You will have to speak on this topic for at least 1 to 2 minutes. So total of 2 minutes is given to you maximum for this particular part of speaking. So this part will analyze your ability to speak confidently on any topic, and you may get a final question if you have not covered 2 minutes entirely. Okay, so for example, 2 minutes are given to you for speaking on one topic. For example, or for instance, the topic given to you in the exam is top time use your mobile phone. Okay, so for example, you have started your answer and you have finished the answer before 2 minutes. Okay, it might happen that the examiner might interrupt you between those 2 minutes. But in case you have not finished for full length of 2 minutes, then the examiner might ask you one or two questions more to complete those 2 minutes. Okay, so it depends on you and it is not a negative point. But yes, at least you should speak for 1 minute minimum. The duration which is given to you is the entire portion covers 3 to 4 minutes on an average. All right. Tips for part 2 speaking are: gather your thoughts and prepare well in the 1 minute given to you. So 1 minute is given to you for preparation of that topic. After that 1 minute finishes, you are given another 2 minutes to speak on that topic. So use that 1 minute very wisely. Okay, speak in a relaxed manner without speeding up unnecessarily. So do not speed up your answer, do not pace up too much. Just keep your speed of speaking very normal. Okay, not very slow, not very fast. So speak for 1.5 minutes at least. So that is the bare minimum. Last is practice speaking for 2 minutes before the test. So you should practice by yourself, looking in front of the mirror or maybe speaking to someone else and someone is listening to your answer. In that way, you can practice with your friends and family members, as well as practicing by yourself looking at the mirror. That is a very good practice, which I have myself suggested many of the candidates of mine, and they have really got a very fruitful result out of it. Okay, so yes, you can apply that to your practice session as well. Next, we come to the last part of your speaking exam, which is part 3. So the format for part 3 is the examiner will ask you questions on the topic given earlier. Okay, you will have to express your opinions more deeply and subjectively. So the examiner will ask you ask you questions on the topic given earlier. That means part 3 of speaking is connected with your part 2. All right. So next bullet point says that you will have to express your opinions more deeply and subjectively. That means you'll have to express your ideas, you'll have to give examples, or maybe your own personal experience. So anything you can link up with your answer, because in part 3 you get the opportunity to express your views and opinions and expand it more deeply in the topic. Next bullet point says that this section evaluates your ability to assess a topic, share and justify your views and organize your ideas. So once you have got the question in front of you, it is your duty to organize it in such a way that the answer looks very, appropriate. It should not be jumbled with the sentences, or the ideas should not be scattered. They should be chronologically. Next bullet point says you will have to provide longer answers for 4 to 5 questions. So whatever 4 to 5 questions will there be in your part 3 of speaking, you will have to provide very long answers, detailed answers. because the examiner is assessing in this, specifically part in part 3 of speaking, that how well can you detail your answer. Okay, coming to the next bullet point, the examiner may interrupt you sometimes. Do not get hassled if this happens, and questions usually cover aspects of your life. So, however, they may cover broader ideas and themes. So, there might be topics like, about space or about AI, or maybe about life, okay, or maybe about family life, or maybe personal life, or professional life, about work, or about age. So it can be about any abstract topic in which you'll have to explain the answer in detail. So duration of this part 3, is about 4 to 5 minutes on an average. Now let's look at the tips for part 3 speaking test. So you will have to provide in-depth answers in this section, expand your own opinion, explain and justify your stand on something, and ultimately evaluate the same. When you are interrupted by the examiner, pause and relax. It will not impact your total score. So, yes, please remember this. This is a very general and important tip as well, that whenever the examiner is interrupting you in any part of the IELTS speaking test, do not think that it is negative. Okay, it might be positive as well. It can be negative, but mostly it is for you, for the examiner to see that how well can you handle such situations when it, in between the speaking. So this is what generally they want to evaluate. Okay, coming to the next slide, which says general tips on how to score well in IELTS speaking test. So these are just the general tips which I have prepared for you. So first bullet point says, now that you know about the IELTS speaking test format and are confused about the tips for IELTS speaking test, here are some general tips for a good score. So let's see what are those. First is, arrive at least 30 to 40 minutes before your scheduled appointment, and you will get sufficient time to relax before the examination. Of course, reaching on time and being punctual in your speaking test really impacts your score. So always maintain an eye contact with your examiner after entering the testing room. Because if you do not have an eye contact with the examiner while speaking, that means you are lacking confidence. Next is, speak clearly and politely without hurrying. Avoid showing any signs of anger or frowning. Talk to your examiner formally and the way you talk to other people. The answers should be conversational. That means it should look like that you're having a conversation. It should not look like that a robot is speaking, pause and break. It should look like that two humans are interacting. All right. Next bullet point says, listen to the questions carefully and ensure that you suitably answer each one of them. Of course, requirement of each question should be done properly. Next bullet point says, talk to your examiner formally and the way you talk to other people. The answers should be conversational. Listen to the questions carefully and ensure that you suitably answer each one of them. You may not always agree with the examiner's opinion on a topic, so you may disagree with them. Okay, so however, make sure that you express the reasons politely. So, for example, the examiner says that, okay, do you think that a lot of people like music, or do you think that music can be healing? So you might think that and you might not think that. So whatever is your opinion, even if you were about to say no, so say it with a reason, a valid logical reason, so that the examiner is also impressed, and he thinks that yes, you can put up your point validly. Next is, try to expand your answers whenever you give an opinion. So give relevant answers to each given question. Now, next we are going to throw some light on the assessment criteria. That means the marking criteria of your speaking test. So, as an IELTS candidate, you should be aware of how your speaking is going to be marked so that you can prepare well for the exam. First is fluency and coherence. Now, what does that mean? Let's read about it. This refers to the ability to talk with normal levels of continuity, rate, and effort, and to link ideas and language together to form coherent connected speech. Key indicators of fluency are speech rate, ideally not too slow, hard to keep links between words and prepositions in mind. That means speech rate should be, medium, not very fast, not too slow. So speech continuity, that means ideally flow of speech should will not be interrupted by false starts, backtracking, functional less repetition of words or phrases, and or pausing during which the test taker searches for words. Key indicators of coherence. So first is logical sequencing of spoken sentences, then clear marking, relevance of spoken sentences to the general purpose of a turn, and lastly, use of cohesive devices within and between spoken sentences. That is, for example, logical connectors, pronouns, and conjunctions. So, what are the words which connect two sentences or phrases? And logical connectors can be like however, or moreover, furthermore, although, all of these words. Pronouns we already know: he, she, they, it. So all these words should be used appropriately in order to get a good band. Now, second is lexical resource. So, this refers to the range of vocabulary at the test taker's disposal, which will influence the range of topics which they can discuss and the precision with which meanings are expressed and attitudes conveyed. So, key indicators of lexical resource: variety of words used, adequacy and appropriacy of vocabulary in relation to the requirements of, let's read, referential meaning, that means the correct labeling of the things and concepts; style, that is which style are you, agreeing with, formal or informal; collocation, that means including idiomatic expressions, using more of idioms and phrases, indicating the speaker's attitude to content, whether favorable, neutral, or unfavorable; ability to use paraphrase, that means getting around a vocabulary gap by using other words, using synonyms, okay, basically, with or without the noticeable hesitation. That means there should not be any hesitation while speaking. There should not be any break or flow, in the speaking exam. It should be very much continuous. All right. Coming to the third parameter of your IELTS speaking test of the marking criteria, that is grammatical range and accuracy. Now, what is grammatical range and accuracy? Basically, your grammar. Okay, they are testing your grammar as well. So, this refers to the accurate and appropriate use of syntactic forms in order to meet speaking test feature, which will help to determine the complexity of propositions which can be expressed. So, key indicators of range: the length of spoken sentences, appropriate use of subordinate clauses with clauses and phrases, complexity of the verb phrase, that is, correct use of auxiliaries in continuous and perfect aspect modality and passive voice. So, yes, active, passive voice, and perfect tenses, all of these play a very major role in order to get a higher band in your speaking test. So the complexity of other phrases, that means use of pre and post modification, items before and after the head, noun, adjective, etc. Range of sentence structures, especially to move elements around for information focus. Key indicators of accuracy: error density, that means the number of grammatical errors in a given amount of speech. So the more grammatical errors you make in your speech while giving the answers, definitely the more marks will be cut and the band would be lower. And the less grammatical mistakes you make, that means the more of bands and the more of. Last bullet point says the communicative effect of error, that means its effect on intelligibility and precision or expression, requirements, and to the test taker's range of grammatical sources. All right, so these are the few things which you have to keep in mind while keeping your grammar in place. Okay, is pronunciation. Now, what is pronunciation? This refers to the accurate and sustained use of a range of phonological features, okay, to convey meaningful messages. Key indicators of pronunciation. So basically phonological features are related to phonology, so you don't have to go so deep in sound and language. Okay, phonology is basically how you utter your sounds or how you make sounds while speaking in various languages. For example, in English we have a low high pitch, which is known as intonation. I just explained it to you in the before slides. So these are the things which you have to keep in mind while keeping in mind your pronunciation as well. Let's read about it further, coming back to the slide. So the ability to divide speech into meaningful utterances or chunks within spoken sentences. Second bullet point says the appropriate use of rhythm and stress timing and the linking of sounds. Use elision to produce connected speech. The use of stress, example emphatic, contrastive, and intonation to enhance meaning. Next, the production of sounds at the word and phoneme level, example word stress, vowel, and consonant production, and the degree of effort required of the listener to understand these. Now, what are consonants? What is word stress? What is vowel sounds? We have all read it in our primary and secondary classes. You do not have to revise all of these terms again. It's just that whatever you are speaking in your speaking exam, you will have to be very much clear with your sounds. Consonant sounds, vowel sounds, or the word stress. That means where the stress has to be put on word. Okay, the overall effect of accent on intelligibility, that means whatever accent you are using, for example you're using American, Australian or Indian or European, whatever accent you're speaking in, your marks will not be cut for that. It's just that in whichever way you're speaking, the examiner should understand you. Okay, the main concept is this. Now I have placed in front of you some sample of speaking part 1 questions. So you can see here general questions about the candidate. I have also listed down the topic on the basis of which the questions are given. For example, the first topic is volunteer works. Okay, so all the questions will be related to your volunteer works. For example, have you ever worked before as a volunteer, of course. So yes, the topic will be given to you. The examiner will tell you that let's talk about volunteer works, or let's talk about lifestyle and work, the second topic here. And then he or she will ask you some questions based on that topic. So I have listed down few topics here, few questions here, so that later on after the video as well, whenever you rewatch it, you can practice by yourself. You can practice it with your friends, or you can just answer it by yourself and see how successful you are in making these answers. All right. So these are some part 2 questions as well, which I have listed down for you. So cue cards, basically cue cards are the topics which are given to you. So for example, first topic is describe positive change in your life, and you should say what the change was about, when it happened, describe details of the change happened. So right now I have just placed the questions so that you can see what kind of questions are there in each part. Now here you can see part 3 as well, discussion questions. So topic company. What is the difference between big companies and small companies? So in this you'll have to compare and give a contrastive answer, okay, in which you'll contrast and compare both the sides, and you'll give examples, you'll give your opinions, you'll give the views and beliefs of generalized people as well. So it will be a very lengthy, long answer, you can see, right? So you can just prepare by yourself and then practice by yourself. I will be discussing all these three parts in detail. So in tomorrow's class, I'll be taking up first part of speaking test, which is this one, general questions about the candidate. So we'll be discussing the tips about part 1, what is the format of part 1, what are the kind of questions. I'll be giving you sample answers and telling you how to prepare the answer for part 1. Okay, and the same thing we'll be doing for part 2 and 3 as well. So in the coming 3 days of this last week of June, we'll be taking up one part each of speaking and discussing it in detail. Right now, you can just look at the questions and have an idea how and what kind of questions will be coming up in your exam. So this, guys, finishes us with the slide with the PPT. And now I give you some time for the interesting part of our class, the most interesting part, that is the doubt solving question and answers. So yes, you can start asking your doubts and I can answer them one by one. So yes, any question, guys, from the today's class, or anything you want to ask to any other module as well. And yes, if you have not registered so far, please do register with us. I'll just copy paste the link on the comment section as well in case you're not getting it. So that will make it easy for you to just click on it and get registered with us. So here is the link, guys. I have just copy pasted it on the comment section. Ma'am, please, how can I download all the previous teachings? So, okay, which is with the same name, Shiksha Study Abroad. And please click on the link as well, which I have just copy pasted on the comment section. With that, you can register with us. You will have the access to the IELTS calendar as well. So you can see how many classes are left and what all classes did we have. So you will have the link there. You will have something written as, click here for viewing session. So you can do that by clicking here on the, you can also subscribe with our YouTube channel with the same name, Shiksha Study Abroad, so that you will not miss the upcoming videos in the future. So, ma'am, how can I improve my grammatical portion? Well, I know that is a tough job and it won't be a job of one day. It will take some time to improve your grammar. You can do that by either, practicing by yourself on the internet by downloading a lot of tenses exercises or whichever part of grammar you feel you are weak in. For example, if you think that you're weak in subject verb agreement, then you can download those. Or either you can read a lot of words and phrases and sentences from different journals and magazines. Of course, reading helps in improving your vocabulary as well, and as well as your grammar. But yes, if you're really weak, if you think that you really need help, then you'll be having a trainer by your side. You'll have to be with a trainer, so that a trainer can teach you or train you and then check your work, because without a trainer it would be difficult for you to handle your grammar by yourself. But yes, if you think that you just need a brushing up over your grammar for the IELTS preparation exam, especially, then you can just practice by yourself by from the internet. Or we have a lot of books available. So books and references, I talked about it for the IELTS preparation in the first June video, in the first video of our free Shiksha IELTS classes. So you can just go back to our videos and watch that video. In the end of the video, I have also discussed the books and references from where you can practice for your IELTS exam. So in those books and references list, there were few books which would help you for your grammar as well, and that would really, help you to enhance your grammatical skills. So I hope that answered your question. Any other question, guys? Any other question which you have regarding today's class or anything? Could there be a chance of a free IELTS exam? Well, that sounds very tempting and very, like we have something in a magical world. Well, it won't happen here in this world, dear. Really sorry about that, but there is no such thing as free IELTS exam. You'll have to pay the fees for IELTS exam. These are just the training and teaching classes which we are providing for free. But for the exam, you'll have to pay the fee, and whenever you're ready by watching these videos and practicing from our sample papers, then you can sit for the exam. Okay. Next is there any tips to prepare outline points for cue card in a given minute? Yes, of course. So details of how to prepare a cue card, part 2 of your speaking. As I said, I'll be taking each part in detail from tomorrow. Today was only the overview of the speaking IELTS exam. Okay, IELTS speaking exam. And from tomorrow we are starting with part 1, then part 2 and part 3. So each of the 3 days, in the coming 3 days, we'll be discussing every. There I'll be telling you how to prepare for your cue card. In the reading section, I have problems with paraphrasing. Yes, I know that can be a problem with many people. So paraphrasing will only come if you have a good sense of vocabulary and how to increase your or enhance your vocab. That is like you can just practice few words by yourself either, or I would suggest personally, I have suggested many candidates just read the sample papers, the old sample, so that you can get an idea what kind of papers came in the previous exam, and there will be a lot of words which would be repeated. For example, in the writing section you would see that the words like people or individuals or horses or nation or country, education, all these words are very much repeated in every writing paper. So same happens in the reading and listening as well. There are few words which are being repeated, so what you can do is you can look at these papers, and whatever word you feel is good for you, or you think that you can learn the synonyms for them, just pick up one or two words on a daily basis. No need to make a full lengthy list of the words and then learning it or rote learning it. Not do that, that would not help. So learning vocabulary is a smart game, it's not a hard play game. Okay, so the thing is that you'll have to play very smartly. You will have to learn at least one or two words on a daily basis, take out the synonyms for those words, make sentences on those words, try to use or imitate those words in your daily life while you're speaking in English, so that would help. So check out the reading paper, and you'll notice that there are many words which are being repeated. And if you think some words are difficult for you to understand, just take out the meaning there and then and try to learn them, try to memorize them. If not that, then try to make sentences, because once you start making sentences with good words, you'll get a habit of speaking in good words only. You'll just forget the common words and you'll start using yourself the uncommon words. Okay? So I would advise all of you to bring your friends and family members if they need the training for free, because we do have the expert counselors as well who would help you in your IELTS exam as well as other exams if you want to know any information about them. All right. Next question is, ma'am, what is the total timing for the speaking module? Well, it stays for about 11 to 14 or maximum of 15 minutes per candidate. So per speaker or per candidate gets around 11 to 14 minutes to complete that test. Welcome. Somebody saying thank you so much. So welcome. So I hope that answered your question. We have 2-3 minutes more, then we can wind up. So tomorrow, guys, I'll be taking up another part of speaking, which is the first part. In fact, the part one of speaking, the slide which I showed you. For example, general questions about the candidate, that one. So that is just a general part, which is the first part of your speaking IELTS exam, and that happens as soon as you enter the exam center, the exam hall. You sit down, you introduce yourself, and then the examiner tells you about himself or herself, and then they will ask about your introduction, and then they'll start with the part one. So that part one we are going to discuss tomorrow in the tomorrow's class, and accordingly we'll go on with the part two and part three as well. Okay, next question is, during the exam are you given topics to choose from, or it's a topic that is presented to you for testing? Very nice question. Well, the all the topics are given to you, by the examiner. You do not have any option or choice to choose the questions. I wish you had, but yes, unluckily you do not have. But I think that is, a very good asking yourself also, like, where do I stand in speaking English correctly? So I think that is a very nice way of asking questions. First they ask small general questions in part one, then a topic is given to you, and then part three for longer answers. So yes, this is how they have divided. You have no option or choice to choose any question by yourself. Everything is presented to you there and then. It's all impromptu. So, what if you are speaking and you want to visit the washroom, especially if you have a medical need? Of course, in case of medical need, I think they'll be requiring something as a proof. If you do have the certificate of your surgery or anything like that, they will give you the exception. That's not an issue at all. And yes, even if you want to use the washroom in between, I would suggest you to use the washroom beforehand. But in between, if you want to use it, nobody can stop you from that. Don't worry about it. So every time the stopwatch is there in the time and your recording, all are going to the British Council and IDP later. So everything is being recorded there. So whenever you want to take a break in between, example, especially for the medical reason, or you want to use the washroom or loo in case of emergency, then definitely they will stop the time and they'll let you go. And then you'll come back and resume with your exam. So don't worry about that. And also, guys, I want to tell you one more thing. If your questions are not being addressed fully here, that means if you're not able to, get your answers, for example, after a few minutes, I'll be gone from here. I'll be gone from the live class, and it will become a recorded class. So later on, also you can keep asking your questions on the comment section, because every time we, see your question, we try to resume and we try to give the answer as soon as possible. So do not worry about it. All your questions will be answered. Any other question, guys? All right, guys. So, if there is no other question, then I would like to wind up the today's class. And I'll see you tomorrow. As I said, I'll be covering up the first part of speaking. I know speaking is like a boon for every IELTS candidate, because you can really score well if you know the strategies and tactics to answer the question. So I would suggest all of you to come live tomorrow and attend this session so that you can, benefit from this class as much as you can. So, yes, please do come in tomorrow's class and also register with us with the link which is also in the description now and also on the comment section. All right, and I'll see you tomorrow at the same time, Indian timing, 5 to 6 p.m. And we are having these classes on the weekdays only, and this is the last week. So, I would like to advise all of you to make as much as use of it as you can. Okay, all right, fine, guys. So, thank you for joining us, all of you, and I'll see you tomorrow. All right, guys, take care. Bye bye.